Hello, folks. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. The world is aflutter, a Twitter, agog, aghast. With threats by President-elect Donald Trump to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS nations, should BRICS pursue an alternate currency? Now, one of the immediate responses came from the government of South Africa, which claimed that there's no alternative currency. We're not working on alternative currency. Of course, this is a bold-faced lie. BRICS has famously said for the past 2 years, including the summit that I attended last year in Sandton in Johannesburg, that they're trying to create an alternative currency. In fact, that's what they are trying to do. At the recent summit, the business summit of BRICS, now they had little digital cards like credit cards that they passed around, which had their alternative currency right into it, built right into it. And you could purchase soft drinks and food at the event using the card. This is exactly what they want to do. They want an alternative to the dollar. Now, the South African Foreign Ministry and Ronnie Lamola claim that no, this is simply an effort to trade in our own currencies, as if the Chinese are going to accept Tanzanian shillings for televisions, wash machines, and cars shipped to Tanzania. This is happening, but at an incredibly small scale. The reality is the following, folks. Donald Trump has started a negotiating position by warning the BRICS nations if they work against U.S. economic interests, there will be consequences. So people say, oh, Smoot-Hawley, the return of protectionism from the 1930s. No, in fact, that's not even remotely what's going on here. This is a businessman who knows how to negotiate. And that really bothers these people that know nothing but suckling off the government teat as a government employee. They know nothing about business. So let's put this in perspective. Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, her response to Trump's threat to impose 25% tariffs on Mexico if it doesn't get control of the border was, well, fine, we'll put tariffs on American goods. And then she went and visited Donald Trump while he's president-elect and kissed the ring. And suddenly her tone changed. Oh, no, we can work something out because Trump told her how it was going to be in no uncertain terms. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, came south to Mar-a-Lago where he had dinner with Trump and some friends. And Trump trolled him at the table when Trudeau said, well, Mr. President, you can't impose 25% tariffs. It'll destroy Canada's economy. Well, Trump said, so the only way your country can prosper is by ripping America off for $100 billion a year? That is epic. That's epic. Listen, the 100% threat on tariffs against BRICS nations is simply a threat, a negotiating point. He will impose 10% tariffs on many Chinese products, and if Canada and Mexico don't get on board, then they will also suffer consequences. So what's going on here is negotiating. People across Africa are freaking out. We hear analysts in South Africa warning other African nations, "Oh, ignore America. Don't trade with them. Diversify your trade. They're going to put sanctions on you." Well, folks, there's only 3 African countries that are part of BRICS. South Africa, a second-tier nation that joined it in the second round, making BRICS. And then recently, Ethiopia and Egypt joined last year. Well, this year, actually. They agreed to join last year and join this year. So only 3 African countries out of 54, or 57 if you count Somaliland and Western Sahara and Puntland, 54 countries, 3 countries on the continent are members of BRICS. So the rest aren't affected by this threat, even remotely. Now, South Africa is a member of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. They have access to that preferential trade status granted by the United States on the condition that South African government adhere to certain conditions. Chief among these are respect for human rights, democracy, free and fair elections, and of course, property rights. But the government under the African National Congress has abrogated the concept of property rights and has sought to impose expropriation without compensation, therefore making themselves legally ineligible for the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. And so it's much more likely they may find themselves suspended from AGOA before they face 100% tariffs. Whatever the case, South Africa's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, DIRCO, Director of International Relations and Cooperation, is lying, and Ronnie Lamola is a bold-faced liar, claiming that BRICS is not developing an alternative currency. They have been stating this publicly for 2 years. 2 years. And they've taken concrete steps towards it. Now, this raises the question, well, what's America so afraid of? Nothing. We're not afraid of anything. But you're undermining the U.S. market, the U.S. economy with an alternative currency. So we have a right and responsibility to defend our currency and defend our position in the world. You don't like that? That's just the way it is. They have a right to come up with an alternative currency. But if they think they're going to get a free ride when Trump's president, those days are over. Free rides for autocrats, fascists, totalitarians, and evildoers overseas is over. At least that's what Trump says. We'll see what happens when he actually gets in office. So there you go, a little bit of a lesson, a little bit of a conversation about what this means to BRICS countries. And one more thing about BRICS. It's not even real. Please, someone show us the treaty that they've signed making them alliance partners. There's no mutual defense pact. There's no special access to anything. There's no guaranteed reciprocity for employment. In other words, if you're South African, you're not guaranteed you get a visa, you can travel to Russia to work or to China or vice versa. You don't get preferential trade status. You get better deals with the United States, who's not a treaty partner and not part of BRICS, than the BRICS nations give to South Africa or any other BRICS member. It's vaporware. It's the concept of an economist from Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch, can't remember which one he worked for, in 2000, 2002, he came up with this concept talking about the countries that will rise in the coming millennium. Brazil, Russia, India, China, BRIC. And then they later let South Africa, a tiny little player, join it to create BRICS. And that's all it is. No treaties, no benefits, no advantages, simply a talk fest. It is a gab session. It is a Dr. Phil, Oprah Winfrey session for leaders from totalitarian fascist states to quibble and quabble and whine and moan about the G7 and the West. That's what it really is. And before China's rise from a country of just 2 trillion in GDP 25 years ago to a country of 17 trillion GDP in 2024, the economies of these countries were nothing. But Russia filled a big portion of that percentage. Now, China, before the accession of new members in 2024, represented 85% of the gross domestic product of the BRICS nations. So it wasn't BRICS, it was China. The rest were just free riders and strap hangers, including Russia. Now with the addition of Egypt and Ethiopia, China's percentage has shrank, but it's still the colossus in what is known as BRICS, a fantasy, hate America, hate the West bloc. What say you, folks? Don't worry about the 100% tariffs. They're not coming. Not going to happen. Just the first round, first salvo in an opening trade negotiation. What are your thoughts? Feel free to post them. Cheers and have a good day.